We need to remember that we need to sit on opposite sides because otherwise it says you're Miss Jen.
Oh, that's okay. Here, let me just move it. Oh, it's too heavy.
Nope. It's so heavy. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Minute to Skim It. This is our really fun review show we've been doing for something like 7 years now. Always the same time, same day, different channels sometimes. We're going to go through a bunch of really cool comic books that are releasing to your LCS probably tomorrow. There you go. Perfect.
Nice.
We get our books, our Scout books, on a different schedule than the normal Diamond schedule. So everything from Scout's going to be reviewed today, or at least as much as we could fit in to the schedule. Hey, Steve. So we're going to get started because there's a lot of books that we went through. I'm going to start with Behemoth. This is a Nobody's Child, which is interesting because I don't know why they named it this, because that title does not tell you anything about the book. But maybe later on in the series, we'll have an aha moment for why it says this. So in this universe, they have figured out that they can use not only rhinoceros horn, but other parts of rhinoceroses to make fixes for a great many ills. And everyone is bought into the idea that it's the only way to fix anything. So they've essentially hunted all the rhinoceroses on Earth to death, except for this one rhinoceros here who he doesn't even have horns anymore. But they still want him for other parts, I guess. And he is hanging out with this gentleman in Africa, and he's just trying to, I don't know where he thinks he's taking the rhinoceros to go, but there's no more. They killed all of the rhinoceroses' children, and there's no more rhinoceroses to make another baby with. So
that's so
I don't
sad.
know.
I'm so sad for the rhinoceros.
I know, it's sad.
Goodness.
So it's kind of cool. It's like him. He's kind of a BA. So the book is mostly people coming at him, bro. It's set kind of in the future where everyone kind of, imagine if you were thinking about what the future would look like. If you've ever watched a 90s or 80s or 90s movie that thought it knew what the future looked like and everyone was like punk rock or whatever, that's kind of what they're looking for. Like everyone's a punker in the future and carries guns, I guess. But this one's really, it's kind of neat because I don't know how in the world the rhinoceros would know not to be violent to this fellow or that he's protecting him. He's not really, he's smarter than a dumb animal, but not that much smarter than a dumb animal. But I'm interested to see how important that rhinoceros really is for him being alive. If they could figure out a way to reproduce them or get, all of humanity to realize they don't have to hunt that one species to death.
Yeah, maybe cloning maybe.
Sure. Anything would be better than what are they going to do when they capture the one?
Yeah.
Do we all die? I don't know.
The future punk rockers are not thinking that far ahead.
No, they are not.
Alrighty, let's see. I'm going to start with a Scout book.
Oh my God!
We had
so it's okay. It's a symbiote. That'll be fine.
We had so many books. They're flying off of the rack.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna start. So I had never actually gotten to read a Scout comic before. This was my first.
This is your first Scout
with Scout comics. I got to read 3 of them, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm gonna start off with Dancing with the Dragon, which is I like it because this guy. It's about this guy here, and as you can see, he has main character hair, as you might say, about an anime person, but he has very dramatic hair. And so basically him, and it's one of those where it starts off, you see his little swoops he's got? But so it's one of those where it drops you in the middle of the action and then does a 6 months earlier and kind of flips back and forth of how he's in this situation, how did he get into the situation? And really, it's a very classic, kind of crime thriller where he's a limo driver who then gets a hold of the right, or maybe you might say the wrong cell phone. Him, and this is his girlfriend here on the cover, and they're having money problems. They see maybe an easy way out, but as we can see from the fact that he is being chased by gangsters in the beginning, it is not going to work out so well for them. So it's really good, especially if you like crime action movies. This is a really good comic to pick up.
Yeah, I got to interview. Who did I interview on that team? McKinnon. And I thought it was the pitch for it was amazing because basically, as being said, he's really just a limo driver for the mob, and decides he's gonna, if he wants to make more money, he's gonna have to go on the other side. So I love stories where it takes normal people who would have no business to be in being like organized crime or whatever the thing they try to do, and you're just like, why? This is never going to end well. Someone's going to get hurt.
Yeah, that's that book.
Oh, no. Yeah. All right. From Valiant Comics, Ninjak number 3 is out this week. Small background. This is Colin King. His superpower is exactly like Tony Stark's, except for this dude doesn't need armor. He is a billionaire playboy philanthropist, except for I guess maybe not philanthropist either. He's just a ninja. But he's really cool. And this one, it's neat because the art style is like Tradd Moore's art style. If you're familiar with Tradd Moore, it's really kind of blocky and monochromatic. Except for this is Javier Pulido doing this art. So I'm just trying to help you understand the art style. And trying to remember where we end up with this. Oh, this is like super surrealism in this issue because he meets up with one of his fellow secret spies and breaks in to try to find somebody as part of their organization. Think about the guy in the chair, kind of. And it just gets super trippy from there because they break into this weird room. The floor has a bunch of holes in it, and there's voices coming out of the holes, which he both hears and then experiences. It's a super trippy book.
That's wild. And actually, I just got a glimpse of it. It's so colorful inside. The outside looks kind of like a moody Batman sort of, vibe, but the inside of that was like bright and blocky and awesome. That's interesting. I've never read Ninjak. I might need to pick that up.
Yeah, it's different than it's ever been before. So if you've ever read Ninjak and you're like, I don't know about this, try it now and see if you like this style.
Alrighty, so let's see here. I'll go to Nightwolf, which I read from Lone Wolf Comics, which is Ms. Jen informed me that this is basically just the creator putting out his own books, right? Which is always awesome to see, like the most independent of independent creators. And Nightwolf, which are they all going to be on sale this week? Okay.
So this one's probably not an LCS book. But I supported this creator at the Kickstarter level, and it kind of made sure I've kept up with them. And they finally have put out all the way through issue 5. So I just wanted to make sure that I kept on supporting this because we've had them before and really sold out quickly. So we just want to make sure we had another chance. And I thought we've never reviewed the book before, so we should give people a chance to maybe try to hunt this guy down.
I never read it before. Miss Jen's super familiar with him. But it was, and I didn't really know what to expect going in. And because you can tell the front very supernatural vibes. And this first comic, though, it just took me back to like 90s rom-com, with the spiky hair, and they're at the mall. And it's definitely ramping up to the supernatural elements. But there's a lot going on with the characters themselves, even before the supernatural parts come into it. And of course there is like the big bad at his lair and his lurkers hangings on. But the core story that we see in this issue is the main character going through his regular day. He's starting to have nightmares. You know he's going to start turning into something, gaining power. So it's always good to see those discovery stories, you know. So it's really good, and I really, really enjoyed it. I'm amazed that this came out of such a small team. Like, that's awesome.
Yep. The parent company, or the one that they use as a banner, is Lone Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to go hunt it down on the internet, you can. All right, this one is, we're so close to the end of this storyline of trying to figure out what really is going to start happening. There's a big reveal in this issue. This is Extreme Carnage Agony, which introduces the last of the symbiote. I want to say brotherhood because they're mostly girls, but sisterhood, I guess. But they've been trying to figure out, even the symbiotes themselves have been trying to figure out where is Carnage and what is the end game for them. It seems to be politically motivated. Like, they really do believe that they need to try to figure out how to save a specific political figure who they believe is going to be under attack. And everything is not as it seems at all. So you forgot to drink coffee. Oh no, that's not good at all. But this one's great. Agony is a really cool character. You don't need to know anything going in, just like the rest of the books that introduced characters through the series. They've done enough information and introduced the character enough that you can just jump in, and then by the end of that, you'll know all of the symbiotes on this side, the good side. So, good side. So that, you know, if you saw them in a movie soon, you might be able to be like, I know all about them.
All right, my next one is another of the Scout comics that I got to enjoy this week. This is Life Formed, which Ms. Jen informed me that this one has already been out, but is now being put out again by Scout. Mm-hmm. And this one, I came away from reading this not really knowing what the heck was going on in a good way. You know, like, it starts off with this little girl who is on the cover, and she just has a regular life, her and her dad living together, the normal things of life. And then there's something, and my first reading of it, I thought the parts of it where it's introducing this sort of alien race, I thought that was like her imagination. I don't know if you thought that, or maybe that was just my first interpretation. So I thought, oh, this little girl is having a nice little imaginative thing about aliens. Then they show up, and it wasn't an imagination, and things don't go well, and they get real weird. And it's awesome, and I am really looking forward to the trade paperback coming out, because this one is beautiful, it's action-packed, it's awesome. And I don't know where it's going as a story. Like, I want to know where these characters go. It's just one of those that it's going to be in the back of my mind for a long time. And so this is Life Formed. I don't know if I ever said the title of the book because I was so excited to talk about it, but
I think Kyle got it up there for you.
Yeah, perfect.
So Matt Mayer Lowry and Cassie Anderson do this book. And the reason I know their work already is because they also were, like most people in all of comicdom, they put out their own work as a self-published work and get noticed by companies that are smart, like Scout. And then they make a new print so that it can get to a wider audience. Because you can actually find Life Formed Volume 1 and Volume 2, I think, out there somewhere in trade paperback form. And that's what you're going to get with this. It'll be a really nice, gorgeous printed one. And I like the way they do this, where if you've never been introduced to those characters before, you can try out that number one. And if it's your jam, grab the trade when it comes out. All right. Oh, Impossible Jones. Carl Kessel and I got to sit down and jabberjaw for a while this week. And we talked about Impossible Jones, which is an amazingly silly, fun look at a superhero. You know, like I always say that it's super hard for me to buy into any superhero books and most everybody else that aren't Marvel or DC, because that's where we kind of grew up, right? This is one of those, like The Boys or Invincible or Jupiter's Legacy, that are forgiven for being superhero books because they have such a different look at superhero life that it doesn't feel like another superhero book. So in this one, Impossible Jones here finds herself empowered with superpower in a world in which there aren't very many other superheroes. So think that there are only really 4 or 5 other superheroes in the whole world. So it's not a crowded superhero scape like it is in the Marvel and DC world, where you throw a rock, you can find a new one. But the twist is that she is really the thing that no one else knows about her is that she's really a thief. That's how she started her life. And I don't think that has changed now that she has superpowers. So she lives a dual life. And you can tell that from this awesome Howard Chaykin cover, in which you see her as a superpower person here in the front with her cool costume. And then, her stealing jewels and other things in the background there as her other personality. So it says, using your power for good, not evil. I think that's maybe
some air quotes in there.
Air quotes.
Yeah. Oh, the next one I had to talk about is Maw. And this one is not for kids. But and also trigger warning, there is discussions of sexual assault in this book, and I really it's a really good book. It reminds me a lot. There is sort of a specific sort of small subgenre of horror that is like assault revenge, and that's what this book series is setting up to be. Basically, 2 sisters go. And the one sister is dragging the other sister to go to this, it's sort of a commune that's also sort of like a health retreat. I don't know what to really call it. Yeah, and so it's supposed to be this place where there's all these women and there's sort of a guru over them. And the guru is supposed to really help all of these women to get past their trauma and everything. And the 2 sisters, the one sister really wants to go because her friend went. The other sister, who is the one who's actually experienced a lot of trauma, is just kind of there, kind of getting dragged along. And this comic, this first issue, really is just introducing the characters, but you can see where it's gonna get gross, in the good horror-y sort of way,
I'm sorry, but the word maw just makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, at first, growing up in the South, I read it as maw, but that's not it. It means maw like the mouth. But yeah, there's definitely some creepy, spooky stuff going on in the background of that one.
I think I know the creative team. Nope, new to me. Cool. I love it. All right, Kang the Conqueror #2 is releasing this week. The cool thing about the first issue is, for everybody that wasn't familiar with the character, it helped you understand all of the different kind of dynamics of Kang himself. So on the front here, it actually presents, I think, a lot of his forms. So Kang has appeared through time as he's called himself Ramatut, which is when he was, around during the Egyptian times. And also Immortus, which is the character we saw in the Loki show. That's the one we saw at the very end. That was Kang, even though he never called himself Kang. He just called himself the Conqueror. If you remember, he says that. He goes, some people call me the Conqueror. And then just his normal Kang self. So, and in the first book, he meets, or maybe he goes to seek out his younger self in a different or same timeline. Maybe he just goes in the same timeline and goes picks him up. And it tells him he needs to go get out there, I guess. I don't know. It basically takes him as a travel through time, trying to fix something which looks like it's going to get all the kinds of messed up. So at the very end of the first issue, he had taken him and introduced him to the part of time when he's Ramatut. That picks up straight from there. this is going to get really complex really fast because without spoiling too much, if you know enough about Marvel history and other big characters that come out of the Egyptian time period, there might be another ultra powerful character that is from that same time period that probably isn't going to, take kindly to having other powerful characters show up. So enjoy Kang the Conqueror. I loved it.
Do you think that's kind of like a look back at, do you think it's the Marvel history that like has already been written that goes along with other characters' backstory? Or do you think are they introducing new things? Like, if I were to read that, am I kind of like learning like the history of Kang and like the history of like some of the other Marvel characters, or is it totally new?
I haven't seen anything that overwrites anything that I know, but I also don't know a lot about the back history of this character. Most people associate Kang as being a character that's more likely to show up with Fantastic Four, the Avengers, not with characters we've been seeing him show up with, like Loki. So
okay. Cool. All right. This is the book that I had my eye on just because this is sort of my wheelhouse of books. I've been excited for this one to come out for a while. This is Primordial. I was very concerned because if you know about space, which I love space, the first monkeys and little animals that were sent up didn't work out so well for them, unfortunately. But this is really interesting. I will say right now, if you are reading Department of Truth right now, if you are enjoying Department of Truth, get this guy.
Is that your jam?
Yeah. This is it's basically alternate history. It takes place in 1961. The idea is, as they're introducing it, is that when the first experiments happened, when they were first launching rockets and they launched the first monkeys into space, it went so badly that they never sent people. So this is totally alternate history. And basically the official story from the government, because it starts with government conspiracy as well. That's why I'm saying Department of Truth, folks, be here. And so they say the monkeys died immediately, like before they were even launched into space, but someone finds evidence that they didn't die, that the government has covered something up. So very weird government conspiracy with monkeys and aliens and possible interdimensional space stuff going on. So
if you're a fan of Ancient Aliens, the show, you probably like this.
Probably. If you are a regular watcher of Ancient Aliens, you will like Primordial. I'll say that.
What does this say? Primate Space Army?
There's only 2 of them, so I don't know, but we'll see. Maybe that's a number 2. So
she said number 2. Sorry, I'm a kid. All right, Eternals, Thanos Rises. I'm going to be full disclosure on this one. I don't know a lot about the Eternals except for what I've seen in the trailer, and I read the first Eternals series or the first Eternals in the most current series that came out. And this is the front half of this book is so heavy into believing that you know who the Eternal characters are that are part of it, that it just assumed too much in my case. And I didn't stick with it long enough to get to the part where Thanos was important. It does give a timeline in the very front page, so it tells you where this storyline lands, and I'm sure it's super important to what's coming and going forward for the Eternals, linking into main storyline stuff for Marvel. And I'm gonna have to give it another chance. It just I will fully disclose I have been exhausted recently, and I don't have my mental acuity is down, I will say. Just one too many hours awake. So don't give up on it. If you like Thanos and you like the Eternals, or you want to learn something about them, you certainly will learn a lot. I will just tell you for sure that I did not make it through it just because I got to the point where I was like, I still don't remember the first person's name they taught me. And this is the 10th person they're introducing to me, and it's just too much today.
When you need to get out the yarn and the thumbtacks and start working on the stringing things together,
that would help.
If
If you're one of those people that like to make a schematic or a decision tree or whatever, this is your book, man.
All right, next up I have Vampaverse #1, which was pretty wild. It was so in this one you are introduced, the very first thing that happens is Vampirella is on her last leg. She is questioning what was even her purpose, and I'm not super familiar with the Vampirella lore. I'm not sure if this is picking up where another story left off, but it very quickly pivots into what the Vampaverse is going to be about. So she basically is at the end. She's like about to die, and she's like, what was my purpose in this world? And at that point, this figure called the Artist comes in and says, there's a Vampirella in every world. They connect all of the threads, and that has been your purpose in this world, is to be the Vampirella. And that sets up the idea of what is happening moving forward, which is that Vampirellas are being killed off by a mysterious giant sort of robot entity that is coming in and killing them off. And it has to do with this robot is moving through all of the different universes, trying to kill all of the Vampirellas. And it looks like it's going to focus on this one specific Vampirella who is going to kind of like step up and try to be the one to stop them. And it is revealed a little there. It's a little more than just a big bad coming after all of our dear Vampirellas in the world. So it's definitely going to be very, very interesting.
Now, the cool thing is that as you travel through the different dimensions or whatever we're seeing them in, you get to see whole new forms of Vampirella.
Yes.
So these are going to be a bunch of first appearances, and I think there's 10 or so covers, and all of them have a different Vampirella on them. So you can kind of pick the one that you love the most. A lot of people don't like so many variety variant covers for things, but in this case, specifically for this book, this seems like a well-used space for multiple covers when you've got multiple versions of a character being introduced and you want to have cool cover art for all of them. They're gorgeous. I love it. Okay. Oh, I already had someone come in today and want to buy one of these off of me. And I was like, I'm sorry, that doesn't release until tomorrow. This one is part of the War of the Bounty Hunters, Bosch. Or Bosch. I don't know. Boosh. It's not Boosh. But this one is interesting. I haven't read any other storyline that has this character as a main character or a side character in which it talks about their back history at all. So I don't know if this introduces a back history we've never had before, but it appears that you can see all of these other similarly dressed ruffians with them.
This robot, like here, there. I like this guy. I like his face. That's how I feel some days. It just
need a cool gray mask.
Yeah.
So it appears that all of these people have been exiled from their own planet. I don't know if they're people or not, because we never ever get to see their faces. There's one whole segment of this book where they're having dinner together, and they never show them above their neck, which is super creative art as storytelling.
Man.
So,
yeah.
But it appears that as part of the main storyline, which the War of the Bounty Hunters is all about, it happens between the time when Boba Fett seals Han in carbonite and is supposed to deliver that to Jabba the Hutt, and the actual delivery. Han gets stolen, and other bounty hunters run him all over the galaxy or whatever. So this is part of that main storyline. But this one focuses on this character specifically and their pals as they get hired by someone in the Star Wars universe to go and kill off this the board of directors of, I don't know, maybe a competing super org. And, the Star Wars universe isn't as boring and pedantic as it being just like an actual straightforward, like, board or whatever. There's definitely gonna be Star Warsy parts of this. So definitely read this book. It's a lot of twists and turns, learn something neat about the universe. And I don't believe this is a single shot, because if it is, it is the single shot, but because it continues next in the Dr. Aphra that's after it. So whenever the next Doc Aphra is, if you want to know what happens next, you have to read the Doc Aphra that is in the next couple of weeks when it comes out.
Is this Bausch?
Yep.
Okay. I wasn't sure if the group was saying Bausch. That guy. Okay. Cool.
And we don't know if it's a guy, honestly.
That individual.
Bounty hunter names are just random sounds from around your house. That's true. Or sneezing noise you make. No. Sneezing noises that you make are anything Kirby monster. Every Kirby monster is just some weird noise that your aunt made while they were sneezing.
Oh no,
it's true. Go back and look at them.
Oh man. All right, and next up is The Last Annihilation, Wakanda. So this one's really interesting because really the main character that you see in this is M'Baku. And he is.
I love M'Baku!
He's the main character. You're gonna love this when you get a chance to read this. And so it's called Wakanda because it's how do I describe it? A lot goes on in this book. It starts off as, and this is also in the Last Annihilation timeline, which I haven't read the other ones from this. I think this is like the 6th or 7th comic of that, and it basically starts off where there is a planet in trouble, but politically it's a little tense because that planet does not really want help from the intergalactic Wakandan, what do they call it? The empire that they have. And they don't really want help. And it also deals with M'Baku kind of dealing with not really feeling like he has a place and kind of looking for his place. And I think one thing I really like about this is that, without going into too much detail, there's a huge, awesome fight scenes, space battles, lots of action. Also, it's gorgeously drawn. I mean, all of these like action scenes where there's like lasers and people flying and punching, like it's just like peak like Marvel chaos battle. And I really like it because it's got sort of that like symmetrical, there is a problem and then the solution sort of mirrors something that has happened in the past. It's really interesting. It's sort of like something that kind of makes my brain happy of like, oh, that makes sense. That's clever. That's cool. But you're just gonna have to read this because I don't want to go into too much spoilers with it, but awesome space battles, really cool like problem solving. M'Baku kind of stepping forward to take a more like prominent role in Wakandan society. It's awesome. So
I know that everyone wants Shuri to be the next Black Panther, but I really think that M'Baku makes more sense. He's willing to put the welfare of the entirety of the Wakandan people ahead of his rule of his own sect of them. And to me, that speaks to a leader that they can definitely go help another leader out in their need for the betterment of their entire society.
Yeah, they're not seeking power.
No, plus he looks really good in fur.
He's not in fur very much in this one because he's in space, so it's not very practical. But
someone needs to make fur spacesuits stat.
Yeah, his spacesuit mask is definitely very interesting, and I really liked it. It not practical, but very cool looking.
All right, I've been looking forward to this for so long. Do you guys remember back in the day when you'd be waiting by the mailbox for them to have folded in there neatly the new what was it called? Highlights. The highlights where it would be like, search and then find what's different in this picture stuff. And there'd be little stories in there, and the back would be like the picture segment where people, like drew pictures or sent pictures of their pets in. It was all kids. It was about kids, for kids, all that stuff. That's this book. There's a replacement.
That's awesome.
So this has been a joint venture between Scout and their creative teams, specifically Richard Rivera, who you know from his awesome creation, Stouty Bunny. He is the head editor and producer of this series. Special help from Andrea Molinari, who you know from the awesome series The Shepherd, which it's up there at the top. Yeah. I was like, where did it go? But it features in here samples of stories that are currently running from all the Scoot titles, including ones you haven't seen yet, like Bandits, which is about this adorable doggy, which I'm sorry, I'm showing the inside, but I'm sure that the release date is all kinds of wonky on Scout stuff. So, and Super Cats. And plus I know some people, they can come after me, I guess. And Misfits Clubhouse. Yuck. So they hate asparagus.
Oh my goodness.
They all look like Saturday morning cartoons. Soulstream, which has already been released by Seda Wolf, who is herself a very young person and has made it her whole thing. And then Adventures of Byron. You've seen those. There's been at least 2 or 3 of those. It's so funny. It says The Adventures of Byron Shorts. And it says, who's this guy making a comic about your pants? But that's awesome. And also Cat Dad and Supermom, which you've already seen from them. The Adventures of Carmen Courageous, which feels like Carmen Sandiego, but investigating kind of stuff. I'm going to show you this Senji and Tembo stuff. There's Senji and Tembo. Yeah. So there's a bunch of really awesome stuff in here. And then it has, in between the stories, it has things like search and finds. And at the end of the book, it has a whole bunch of color pages. And so I'm just telling you, even as an adult, I would love this. Like, which one's different? I'm totally going to buy one of these and just like do it. So I guess you're going to have to buy one to color in and one to like collect if you collect things. And then it has a puzzle solution thing in the back. I'm not going to show you because I don't want you to have the solutions. Mm-hmm. So it's a bunch. Just imagine like 10 comic books thrown together with actual activities inside. It's a high gloss cover, so it's meant to take some beating and go on, vacation with you and work on it while you're sitting in the sand.
That's awesome.
Frontiers. We love it, Richard. It's awesome.
Are they gonna do like a whole series of those?
As far as I know, this is the first of a lot of them.
Oh, that's awesome! Get it for your kiddos. Like if somebody had gotten that for me as a kid, that would have been awesome.
Pam, you're gonna love them. So much fun, and even the interior paper is like that good thick paper.
The good paper.
Mm-hmm. They spent the money for you.
Yeah. All right. Next up, I am Batman #1.
Are you Batman #1?
This is Batman #1 of the new Batman. But
you said you were Batman #1.
I know that's very confusing. It's okay. We'll get the string and the thumbtacks out later and figure it out. But so I'm gonna do my best. I'm not deep into Batman lore, and I feel slightly unqualified to talk about this. Because this is huge. Because this is the new Batman. From my reading of it, this is the new Batman. Which there was I Am Batman #0 that came out in the past. I'm not sure when that one came out, but it's. Do you remember when it came out or
no?
Yeah. So this one is really unique because it is Batman origin story, but not the original Batman. This is new Batman. This is, and this isn't much of a spoiler because it happened in #0 and it's revealed very, very quickly. The new Batman is going to be Jace Fox, who is the son of Lucian Fox. And he has decided in this comic, Batman has not been seen for 6 years. He hasn't been heard of. Everyone assumes he's dead. So, because just nobody has heard from him or seen anything from him. So Jace Fox decides, I am going to put on the mask. I'm going to put on the suit. I am going to go be Batman. But he's not trying to be the original Batman at all. He is like, I am taking this in a different approach. He does not have the money that Bruce Wayne had. You know, he does not have all of these resources, and that's something that he brings up. He's like, I'm just a guy in the suit, you know, out. That is true. I'm not assuming Batman is dead, but he's assuming that he's gone and the world needs Batman.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to come in. It's really interesting because he has a totally different philosophy than Bruce Wayne. And he really sees that in the past, Batman has swooped in, kicked some butt, and then bye, you know, good luck, see you next time. But he really wants to become a part of the community, become a symbol in a different way than Batman became a symbol, which was like a symbol way up in the sky.
Yep.
And it's so funny because he is fighting some crime, and then the cops show up, and he doesn't do the like Batman, like I'm disappeared. And the cops are like, why are you still here? Shouldn't you be going? And he's like, no, like I want you to see me. I want the community to see me. I'm here. I'm fighting for them. Like, it's just a way different take on Batman, and it's really cool. And I'm really, really excited for where it's going to go.
It'd be interesting to see if he then gets the support that someone that puts himself like that out there like that should get.
Yeah. Which also in this one, it's super illegal to be a costumed superhero. Like super illegal. And there's like the magistrate is coming after him. So there's a whole level of danger of him taking that approach. But he's doing it because that's his values. So
all right. X-Men Trial of Magneto #2 continues the epic kind of like run to the end of the Hickman storyline, in which Magneto's been all but accused of killing my brain just stopped, Scarlet Witch, and they have visitors to Krakoa to try to suss things out. They're actually coming to claim her body, and then it becomes this like crazy race to erase people's mind. Now, keep in mind, the people that are coming to the island to claim the body are Vision, Captain America, and other Avengers, right? They're not mutants. They are not Krakoans, so they can't be there. They were invited to come and pick up the body. But then for some reason, it becomes this big like game of cat and mouse to like have them not see anything that's going on Krakoa, because no one, I guess, on the outside world knows anything about the eggs that allow them to regenerate. So they have as many lives as they want. And that, I don't know why they didn't think that through ahead of time. Maybe they should have covered that stuff up with a blanket before or something. But yeah, should have like charge of the tarpings. Someone who needs to cover up the mother tree or whatever it is. So anyway, so that's essentially what this becomes. And then there's a huge twist at the end. Like, this is a definite don't miss if you care anything about what's happening going forward with the storyline. And there's gorgeous art in it.
Yeah, I love that's actually the variant cover that we have there, and it is gorgeous.
Yep.
All right. So next up, we have Titans United from DC, and this one is really good. I mean, like I said, I'm not super well versed on the history of DC. I'm guessing this is just them starting up. It says 1 of 7, so this is going to be a story with like this set of Titans, which I grew up. We were talking about this at we were eating that. I grew up with Teen Titans. I loved that series so much. So it's really cool for me to get to read about them as adults, like full-fledged crime fighters. And this one's really interesting because this starts up. Basically, they're responding to a civilian who all of a sudden has started shooting lasers out of his eyes.
Like you do.
We all have had those days. But no, I'm just kidding. I've never shot lasers out of my eyes. But yet. But so he is shooting lasers out of his eyes. And as they start trying to figure out a way to kind of subdue him, and of course it's not his fault. Like, he's not purposefully doing it. He keeps exhibiting more and more powers, and they are trying to deal with that the best they can. And it's really interesting. It's kind of setting up like, something bigger is going on that's going to be the main story, but you're not really sure what it is. And so that's definitely, there's going to be that element of sort of mystery and like investigative, trying to figure out why this happened to this person. But it's also kind of exploring the relationships between the different Titans. And it's really good. I really enjoyed it.
That's so cool.
Yes.
All right. I laughed so loud this was the first book I read, because I with Mike Berry last month, I think, about Action Tank, and I have been so looking forward to it. It really is a very simple upfront tale about a boy who wakes up instead of being in his bed, he wakes up what looks like on another planet, is wearing a cool space uniform and has interactions with things that are impossible, like what does it call it? It's a unicorn with 4 horns, so whatever that works out to. Math. Anyway, it's super surrealistic in what is going on, kind of like if you made up a story and were telling it to your kids at bedtime, which might be where this is from. But it is so creatively written. It's so funny. And the way that the art is, the way that your eye follows the page and the reveal on the page to go with the dialogue seems so brilliant. I know that this cover, when you're looking at this cover, you're like, I don't know, this looks like a basic book. Mm-hmm. It's so not basic, so stinking good, and all the creativeness of this book. Don't miss it. It's only $2. I'll give you the $2.
Is it the full first issue, or is it a preview?
Yeah, this is the whole first issue. This is issue number 1.
That's awesome.
It's killer, and I love it so much.
What does he have? Is it like a shield?
Looks like on his hand. Yeah, it looks like he's got a shield.
Kind of looks like a pot lid.
A little bit. But yeah, I knew when I ordered the book, I let the cover art inform my decision. I should not have. I should have gone by what I heard from Mike Berry from his mouth. So I will say, don't also let the cover fool you into not enjoying the heck out of reading a book. It will be the most fun you read this week. Awesome. Because we're running out of time, I'm going to speed along here. Red Shift number 2. Remember, Scout's doing this awesome thing where they put out their number 1 book and then they give it a couple of months for you to think about and have the opportunity to put it in your pull box list so that you don't miss out the rest of the series. So this one is about, we've already populated Mars, but it's not all it's cracked up to be, and resources are very sought after, hard to get. So this is basically about them on Mars trying to, there's water rationing and there's stuff that's going on behind the scenes. It doesn't matter what planet you're on, there's always going to be something going on behind the scenes with resources. And in this case, it's not like you can just go get them somewhere else. They live essentially on under a big dome on Mars, and there's nowhere else to go. So if you like cool sci-fi with a lot of drama, it feels like a Wild West town, honestly. That's awesome. And that's the way the Wild West felt too. Water.
Alrighty. So this one is, I'm going to read off the whole title. It's Harley Quinn, the animated series, the Eat, Bang, Kill tour. And it's number 1. It's going to be a 6-issue series that is picking up where the animated series, the 2 seasons of I think there's 2 seasons of the animated series out.
That sounds right.
Maybe. And this is basically picking up where it left off. Kind of from what I was able to read about it, it kind of sounds like this is going to be like a little bridge between the 2nd season and the 3rd season. Okay. But I have not seen the animated series, but I still enjoyed the heck out of this book. Like it's very fun, and not for kids. At first I saw animated series and I saw kind of like a cute art style, and I was like, oh, maybe it's for kids. It's not. It's great for adults. And so I don't want to spoil it too much because, like I said, it picks up at the end after 2 seasons worth of animated content. But I will say that it's going to be a lot of fun. If you really like seeing Harley Quinn and Ivy together, they're awesome. And Commissioner Gordon being like the most unhinged version of himself. It's very over the top.
I never think about him being unhinged.
Yeah, and he is. You would read this and be like, wow, you know, I mean, he's a lot of neck bulging, you know, anger. But
sure they didn't get him confused with J. Jonah Jameson when they were writing him.
Yeah, I think there might have been some inspirational crossover, but it's really good. It's definitely going to be like a very fun. There's definitely a lot of plot. Like they're running from Commissioner Gordon and from all these other folks. And I really liked it. Had surprising emotional depth for something that comes from an animated series. It made me really want to go watch that. But it's going to be a lot of fun. Like I said, it's just 6 episodes, you know, or 6 issues that are coming out, and that storyline will continue on the animated series.
Perfect. Stake number 6 finishes up the entire series for Stake. Remember that the main character has a cool companion, I guess you would call her, that she's been running around with and going to try and hunt down very specific characters. She's been doing a good job of doing it. In this one, she actually has to fly to, looks like she goes to Italy. She's in Venice on this cover, but I don't know. I don't know if that's the actual town she goes to. But anyway, what's neat about this is that this one finishes up one arc of the series and then sets up the next one, which focuses on the character Jess, who is her companion. So I just will tell you that not everything is as it seems when you go hunt vampires. Things happen. And then A Broken Souls Ballad. I was wrong about what my hypothesis was about what's going on here. Remember, you've got these kids that are the main characters, and they actually, all the ones that we're following have got kind of tragic backstories. The main character here, he comes from an abusive home, and each of the kids have got these weird things that come bubbling out of their skin and then talk to them. Think kind of like you see in the Venom movies where Venom comes out and has a whole conversation. It's like that, but the voices in which they speak to the kids are not positive voices. And I don't know that they're making it any better for them. I don't see them coming out and being like, here, let me take care of your abuser for you.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool, deep, dark. I'm sure there's a huge twist that we're going to get privy to, but they still haven't given it to us yet. So, and then we've been waiting a good long time, and it's worth the wait for the next one. This is number 2 in Joseph Smolke's Sherry Blackbird, which is the 18+ book in which she herself is a rock and roll star, but she got there because she sold her soul to the devil. And she is under a time constraint in that she has 1 year until she owes that soul in person, in which she has to go to hell. But the devil makes a deal with her, a second side deal that says if she goes and kills specific people or whatever creatures that she said that he wants her to go kill, then she shall be forgiven her soul debt and get to live on as a rock and roll star. And everybody knows you can't trust the devil in anything that he says. So that puts us at Shepherd in our last couple of minutes. All right. This is Molinari doing the second series part of the Shepherd storyline. In the first story arc, it is about a father whose son appears to have accidentally or unpurposely overdosed at a party. And the dad feels very strongly that his son is somewhere on the other side and needs him desperately. So the dad crosses over too and ends up in this weird, we'll just call it a thin place between heaven and hell, in which they're having to deal with what's going on there. This series is very specifically focused on the military folks that end up in that, what they call the seam. And they're basically living out their days at war during this whole issue, in which there's kind of like they're, you know, the father and son are still having discussions while they're fighting, but they've just been kind of like dumped into the bodies of these soldiers and are kind of living out this, I don't know, it seems like a purgatory kind of existence for this side of the book. Did you get anything else out of it?
No, yeah, I didn't read the first series, but yeah, it was really interesting, and it was really interesting that they talked about like how that was kind of helping, and their goal is just kind of help the soldiers to deal with all of that trauma of like when they died during battle. So it was really, really interesting.
Very cool. And we did not even read everything that there is that's interesting that's coming out this week. The one big trade paperback to make sure you don't miss is the Stray Dogs trade paperback, which comes out this week. It's a big deal. It was, some of you guys may have struggled to get all of the regular Stray Dogs issues, so grab this up. It's a really awesome read. It's about a dog that can't remember about how it happened that she ended up at this strange guy's house with all these other dogs that seem like they're happy being there. And you find out through the storyline that he's really a serial killer, and the dogs are the trophies he takes after he kills their owners. So super looks like Disney, but is very Silence of the Lambs. All right, everybody, do not forget to contact your local comic shop and let them know what you want on their pull box for this week. You still have until tomorrow morning to make sure that gets done. If your local comics shop lets you add this late, comicshoplocator.com is where you should go. I've been Miss Jen, and this is
me, Bean. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching us. We'll be back next week, same time, same channel, with more reviews.